swope here with our next section, looking at some complex number stuff. Our first two questions are just adding and subtracting, essentially just combining like terms. So we'll start with our real number part, 9 minus 6. Pay attention to your operation, that would be 3. And then for our I part, we have 7i minus negative 2i. Just be careful with your signs, either just put in your calculator, or 7 minus negative 2i would really be 7 plus 2i. So that would be positive 9i. And that's your answer. You're always going to get like an a plus b. I mean, unless you get 0 or something, but you're always going to have two parts to your answer, unless something weird, things you get zeros or things cancel out kind of thing. Same idea with the next one. Just start with your real number part. 3 plus 10 would be 13. And then do your imaginary number part. 11 plus 9 would be 19i. So add and subtracting complex numbers really aren't that bad. Just basically almost treat it like you're combining like terms, like combining x's and constants kind of thing, and you'll be in good shape. Next, we're going to look at multiplication. So you're going to FOIL like we would normal. There's just one thing we have to be careful about with these, which I'll explain here in a sec after we're done FOILing. So 1 times 3 would be 3. 1 times 2i would be 2i. Then we'll distribute our next part. Just be careful, that's a negative 9i. So that'd be minus 27i. Negative 9i times 2i would be minus 18i squared. So where this gets a little bit different is, since I squared is negative 1, this minus 18i squared is really negative 18 times negative 1, or really it's plus 18. How I think of an I squared, or what I commonly say in my head, is an I squared, it goes away and it switches your sign. So negative 18i squared is going to turn into a positive 18. So just to kind of illustrate this, like 2i squared would be negative 2. The I squared goes away and switches your sign. So it's positive, it turns negative. You have a negative, I squared goes away, switches your sign, it would turn positive. But once you've changed that I squared part, you can just combine like terms, almost like what we did in the adding and subtracting. Like 3 plus 18 would be 21. And then do your I part. Positive 2i minus 27i would be minus 25i. And that's your answer. Division can be a little bit tricky because you have to use the idea of a conjugate. Basically, you're going to multiply by the denominator with the same a and b, but instead of doing a plus, you're going to turn it into a minus. Or if it was a minus, you would turn it into a plus. And you're going to have to do this to the top and the bottom. So we have to kind of FOIL these out. Just so this video is not super long, I'm just going to kind of FOIL these out, like on the numerator and the denominator. So if you FOIL out the top, you should get 2 minus 10i minus 3i plus 15i squared. On the bottom, you should get 1 minus 5i plus 5i minus 25i squared. You're going to see on the bottom, your I parts are always going to cancel out. So on the bottom, let's just simplify that. Just remember, similar to the last question, minus 25i squared is really positive 25. So my denominator would just be 1 plus 25 is 26. So let me write, we'll put our answer over here. The bottom would just be 26. On the top, we also have to change our I squared part. So that's going to be a minus 15. So combine your real numbers, 2 minus 15 would be negative 13. And then combine your I parts. So minus 10 minus 3 would be minus 13i. We can just keep our answer like that. There are ways you could pull it like a GCF, but purposes of this class, just keep it. Once you get the numerator and the denominator simplified on their own, just put them on top of each other.